They're coming up. I really don't want to call them.
I have something to tell you about that later. I learned something unfortunate.
Gotcha.
Hey, Rob, thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody. Do we have any additions to the agenda this evening?
I'd like to delete item 5.5 from the agenda, the vacuum trailer purchase.
5.5, under new business, delete vacuum trailer purchase. And that's it?
That's it.
Motion to approve as amended?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Sorry, Rob, I won't cut you off next time. All right, the motion does
No
carry.
worries.
On to visitors to be heard. Anyone from the community wish to come up and speak, please come to the podium, state your name, and please keep it at 2 minutes. I invite you to come up. Okay. Seeing that there's none, we'll move on to the consent agenda this evening. Nate, anything you'd like to draw attention to with the consent agenda?
Mayor and Council, item 3.6, we'll actually repeat that on the next meeting. I got the request to Josh a little late last week, so nothing to report there on the economic development report. 3 more items. 3.14, there's a joint agreement for combined elections with Lincoln County Commission. The 3.15, Dakota Mainsdale's annual meeting is coming up next month, and they need each member to name delegates to that meeting. And 3.16, we have a volunteer EMT, we'd like to hire Jamie Benning.
Thank you. Discussion from council.
I hope we continue moving forward with the ambulance district conversation, and I hope T is aware of the timeline we're on. It's critical that action continues.
Agreed. I think they're aware of our concern timeline-wise, for where we sit right now. Yeah, we're only 2 months into the year, but that window closes real quick. I don't know, Chad, if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most urgent is the Lincoln County discussion. I know we're gonna present some information at their next meeting in March. So, because positive discussion so far, and I think we're all in the same, we all want the same thing, is how do we make it happen, and how does it make sense for everybody equitably, so.
Yeah. You know, with the EMS legislation pending in the legislature this year, this is a problem they're gonna have to solve. All counties and municipalities are going to have to solve in the next few years, whether they want to or not. So I think we're ahead of that game. Good. But you know, if we're looking for an actual district, that time is getting short.
Yeah. With regards to economic development and what we're looking at from, or what's been discussed here in the consent agenda on consultants, how are we feeling about our relationship with SMGA if we're looking at consultants? I thought they were that for us.
They're good. We've discussed it. I sat down with them at lunch a couple weeks ago and went through some of the options. What they'll probably submit for this process is a mix of their work with an outside consultant. That's skilled in site selection. So they're not worried about our use of a consultant.
Okay,
That was a discussion we had early on, just to make clear, so this isn't something that we want to take away from that relationship, but rather augment.
thank you for that clarification. And I'm excited to continue conversations on our DOC funds and their usage. It's a great topic.
So is Tyson.
Yeah, I'll bet. Put a lot of work into the information that we'll use for the discussion. I'd like to welcome our new park board members, Shane McCarty, Matt Hart, and Robert Behringer. That's awesome. Thank you and welcome to serving on the park board. Fun that we're building that back up.
Yeah, I'd like to piggyback off that too. I watched the park board meeting the other night and it just seems like there's a good spirit in the room, people are excited to get things done and, so, yeah, I agree with you, Bill. With the park and rec report, I had a question with the pool numbers. They seem to be dropping this year is what I read, or this past year, the membership and the I don't know, daily activity, I guess, from last year.
Yeah,
Yep.
I would expect that partially due to Canton opening up.
Canton opening
Yeah,
up? Okay.
I don't know that they were open they may have been open like the last few weeks of the summer.
Sure.
But I think, and Christie can come up if I'm remembering this incorrectly, but they were sending buses over here at one point the year before for their kids to participate at our pool, and that did not, I don't think that happened last year.
Okay, so that's why those numbers are down this year.
That would be my big expectation at least.
Sure.
That's the big difference that
I
we
was
would.
just wondering why that was.
We've got our joint election in the consent agenda as well. And I think it'd be a good time to share deadlines and when people would need, if they're interested in serving their community in an aldermanic format like this on city council, what are the steps and timeline of them taking those steps to pull a petition and get in for a candidacy?
Tapping my memory, I don't know if Tyson, if you have those dates yet.
Off the top of my head, I know July 3rd is when you can begin petitioning, and I believe you need those back by, I think it's August 18th. I can run back, I got like the calendar. It's in my office, run to go snag it.
I think that's a good start of the conversation, honestly.
Yeah.
Just knowing that broad timeline, we're still 5 months away, 4.5 months away. But starting the conversation now, so those that are on the fence, that are members of our community that want to serve in on this council, I think it's great for them to start considering now. Coming to meetings, obviously watching the meetings is sufficient, but coming and engaging is always nice. But getting new faces here is always a great thing. Finding new opinions and new eyeballs to look at similar problems or same problems is encouraged. We've had some cool additions to the city council that have brought different perspectives and seen the way the sausage is made. And it really matters to get involved in our community. And this is a great way to do it. These 3 seats, I think, are up this year.
And Danny, yep.
And Dan, so we've got a mayoral position and 3, as is always the case, 3 alderman positions available, 1 from each ward. So anyone considering, I would love to take your phone calls and answer any questions that people want to talk about what it's like to be on council. I'm sure anyone on this council would agree to that sentiment, and Danny himself. But please, don't feel like this is a network of people that do this and it doesn't change. This is open to everybody that lives here in our community. And I encourage anyone to come explore it and entertain the option to be a part of these decisions and how they're made on the council.
Given how, I mean, it's not, this is the time frame that we would have had petitions coming back by in a normal year, and obviously that calendar has changed due to last year's session. We can get a Facebook post out and maybe a few other things out that kind of talk about what those changes are, and explain, you know, here's where you're going to be pulling petitions instead of February.
Yeah, and just figured, I knew we would, we always have, but it's nice to get ahead of the game.
Yeah.
And the other hope with that is to get just a larger voter turnout than we've had before too, being able to tie that with the general election, so.
When do their new terms start then?
Oh, boy, we talked about that when we changed I think it's December.
Yeah, first meeting in December.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you'll have the election, the council will meet to canvass the election the Monday following. And then we'll seat the first meeting in December.
Further discussion from council or questions? If there's none, I'll look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. We'll do roll call this evening for the consent agenda approval. And if you're in favor, please say aye. Van Drill,
Hi.
Swear,
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
Casey,
Aye.
Welch,
Aye.
Doherty.
Aye.
All right, motion does carry for the consent agenda. On to 4, we have 4.1 legislative position statement.
Mayor and council, this is a repeat of the item from last meeting, from 2 weeks ago. Nothing has changed on this memo or the legislative position. I would note that a lot of things have changed though in the time since this was first published. So, for example, all but one of the TIF bills have been tabled. And we're putting our, the South Dakota Municipal League, EDPA, they're all putting their support behind one specific bill at this point. So there have been changes to a lot of things in here, but the general tone remains the same.
Open it up for discussion.
A lot of good content here, Nate. The one, and I agree, personally, I think I agree with pretty much all your comments. There's one that I'm maybe on the fence on, or maybe just open for some discussion, is like the HB 1198.
Okay, that one.
This, I'm assuming, so this is talking about requiring certain facilities to obtain conditional use permits from adjacent political subdivisions. And I agree with all your comments of like, we want to control our own space and like, we should have the authority to do so. And I think for Lennox, it's less immediately critical. I don't think we have anybody butting up against us that could be concerning, but like, you know, obviously like Harrisburg, T, Brandon are in a position where right next door, they can get something put in that's, so more so just like, you know, what if down the road eventually, you know, we're butting up against Chancellor and we have residential right on that edge and then they decide to put a Smithfield plant or something up. Like,
Right.
How do we protect our citizens in our jurisdiction from undesirable?
We do that with a 3-mile planning boundary.
Yep.
That's how you do it. I mean, does that, you know, that's your planning boundary, it's not a zoning boundary.
Sure.
So, you know, should Worthing or Chancellor or T grow to the point that becomes a problem, we probably have a joint jurisdictional agreement.
Sure.
That would govern those kinds of situations. This bill was defeated on the floor of the House as well.
Okay.
I think the SB 211 with the ambulance, emergency medical services, just seems a little like a no-brainer to be supportive of that, so.
And we're trying to get the league the league is currently neutral on that. So we're working through some education efforts on that. I'm hoping to meet with some of their team this week when we're out there and talk through some of this. The bill has been amended to a lower rate, but it's still largely in our favor in terms of better reimbursement rates from private insurance. So.
Is there any recent updates on 1245, HB 1245? I know it passed the House and now it's waiting to get into the Senate.
It's been assigned to the Senate, I think it's local government. Let me check one moment. I would say that should this bill pass, yeah, Senate local government is where it's been assigned, no hearing yet. Should this bill pass, it changes our capital improvement plan and it changes that giant spreadsheet that Tyson's been working on for a few weeks.
Maybe you could speak on this a little bit too, Nate, just with the tension between local municipalities like Lennox want to be able to have a little bit more control, zoning requirements and things like that, compared to a whole statewide, this is how it is. And that's a lot of our argument in this, is that we want to have more local control than just the state saying how zoning requirements are. And for some cities, it might make sense to have the state do it, but at least our viewpoint that we're involved in that and want to have a voice in that, correct?
Yeah, municipal, the state statute gives counties and cities zoning jurisdiction. It gives them the authority to enact zoning laws. Ironically, I don't believe that the state gives itself the authority to enact zoning laws in state statute, but they can obviously do so if they choose. So if a local jurisdiction wishes to use zoning laws to, what you're essentially doing is protecting land use and protecting compatible use. And that's a local issue. It's not something that can be decided in here by folks that are not familiar with local norms, local desires, so on and so forth. Just like it makes no sense for Lennox to decide what should or should not be located in Faith, South Dakota. It doesn't make any sense for them to have a say in what's located in either. It's just one of those principles of local democratic government that I feel at least is enshrined in how the state was established, how our country was established.
I know the TIF districts is a kind of a buzzword lately, but the city's being pretty proactive about putting stuff out on social media, trying to explain things, and just have a good understanding of what that means for our community. Let's say, for instance, Wilson Trailer was a TIF district, correct?
Yep.
So what would have happened to the community if we didn't have that?
So if we don't have that kind of investment, they're paying $300,000 a year in property taxes right now. A little more than that. Let's just call it 300 even. Let's say half of that, a little less than half, so maybe 140,000 of that comes to the city. Another 140,000 goes to the school, and then the rest goes to the county. Without those property taxes, without that revenue coming in, it has to be produced elsewhere. That's the way our system is structured. So when you have that tax burden placed on a large industrial user, it takes the burden off of your residential and your other businesses. So in essence, we would have $140,000 that's then levied to the rest of the residents of Lennox. So it brings the tax rate down is what it does.
Yep.
So, and you've seen that over the years. We've seen a 33% reduction in our tax levy over the past 5-6 years.
Right.
That's because of increased value. So when taxable value increases, the levy decreases. So had we not had that growth here in the last several years, you would be seeing taxes 33% higher than they are now.
For our property taxes.
Right.
Yep. Other discussion from council. Rob, jump in if you need to, too. I know there's a little bit of delay, but.
I'll point out SB 228 is the TIF bill that on here says we are opposed. That's now been amended to 228A, which we are firmly in favor of. Given how frequently these changes happen, it may make more sense just a general update here rather than a vote of affirmation.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I think what you're looking for is just making sure the council's in agreement generally with the opinions you're having on behalf of the city, and
Right.
I think, at least from my point of view, I agree with your comments that you have, and,
Yep.
I mean, I think you're advocating for the correct things to, you know, keep the control locally and allow us to have the town that we wanna have, so, I mean,
Yeah, so did you say you wanted us to go through some updates in that?
No,
Okay.
we'd be here all night if I update this whole.
Okay.
Because it does, I mean, there are things that change
Yeah.
on this every day.
Yep.
Thursday morning, 228 we were still opposed.
Right,
Thursday evening, firmly in favor, because there were changes that were proposed, it was heard in committee on Friday, and we're happy with where it's at.
Yep.
We're as happy as we're going to be with where it's at. But this list will change every day, and I think if I have a general sense from the council that we're on the right track here, and we're supportive of and opposed to the right things, it's useful for me to be able to take that to our legislators when I talk to them, most weeks, and make sure they know where we are.
Thank you.
And we were looking at 1245, the caps bill, and, one of the lesser recognized pieces of this is that, if we're going to use sales tax right now, we're gonna do a sales tax bond, right? So we're gonna pay interest on those projects. What was the amount for the 2 sales tax bonds? Probably $500,000 in interest for 2 bonds. If caps passes, we don't have to worry about that interest over the next 15 years with the next project. That's a huge savings to our taxpayers.
no, I think overall we support that, Nate, thanks for the work that you put into it. Are there any other comments from council? Just want to make sure I give you the opportunity to speak up. Okay. So there's no action with this. On to 5, new business, we have ordinance 665 discretionary formula.
Mayor and Council, this is an update to our existing ordinance on the discretionary formula. Previously, this is doing 2 things. It's updating the language to current statute, to match current statute. In the time I've been here, I don't know that any industrial or commercial uses actually access the discretionary formula, but it is available. So it's something that's only been available to commercial and industrial users in the past. Talking with the county, as one of these new residential developments may be coming into town and not using a TIF, they would like to be able to access the discretionary formula, but it's not currently available. We had thought it was available under the commercial, but the county would need specific language that's commercial residential, which is the residential over 4 units. And then we included in there the affordable multifamily as well. So it's commercial multifamily and affordable multifamily are being added, and we're updating language to current statute. I recommend a motion to approve first reading.
are these, percentages, like, standard?
It's set up in state statute.
Okay.
Yeah, that was part of the issue. The previous statute was 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, and now it's 25 for 2, 50 for 2, 75 for 2.
Thanks, Nate. Other discussion from council?
No, it makes perfect sense. It's a great way to grow without using a TIF district if that developer is interested in doing so.
Yep. And under 228A, this would not, it would not be eligible for a TIF district if it's getting discretionary formulas. You can't combine the 2, for example.
Yeah, makes sense.
Motion to approve first reading of ordinance 665.
Second.
Okay, motion and second, any further discussion? Seeing that there's none, I'll go ahead and ask for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. 5.2, ordinance 666, septic systems.
Mayor and council, city staff requesting the ability to construct septic systems within the city limits be prohibited. As we continue to develop residentially and commercially, we expect to see new requests for systems in plans. That has happened recently even. While such systems do allow us to develop into areas that can't currently be served by sewer, it does pose challenge for orderly expansion and development. and for how we bring those septic systems into a future system. So we'd like to modernize that ordinance by no longer permitting new septic systems. So as written, it prohibits those but would allow existing systems to continue up to their service life so long as they're kept in good condition. The ordinance has been reviewed by the utility superintendent, city attorney, and city engineer. I recommend a motion to approve.
Any discussion?
Is there any systems that would be at end of life that they would then need to endure larger than replacing a septic tank or system?
I can only think of one that is older than a few years. My guess is it's a decade or more out before they're reaching the end of that life. And when they do, the reason it was permitted is because when they, it was pulled into town, there was no sewer main nearby previously, but now there is. So it'll be a distance for them to connect, but that's expected at some point.
And does this ordinance cover our zoning jurisdiction or just our Lennox city limits?
Just our city limits.
Thank you.
I assume that as we annex properties, especially acreages, they'll have septic systems. Those would also be allowed to continue until the end of their service life.
How long does a septic system?
Depends on how you
typically last?
take care of it.
And who
Kyle would have a
determines,
good answer for that.
Yeah.
I don't.
Because I'm just a little leery of like, I don't know what the differences in cost, like if you have to replace your septic tank and it's, I don't know, $20,000. And then you have to hook onto ours that's $500,000. That's what I'm trying to.
Oh,
gauge.
sure, yeah.
Like, are we asking certain, is there anybody that we're gonna be asking for abnormal, huge outlays of money because of this new?
I can get an estimate on what I think.
That's what I
might
wanna try to guard against, is there
Yep.
anybody we need to understand everyone's situation?
I can grab an estimate. There's really only one that I'd be concerned with. And it would be a distance, but I
Yeah.
don't know what the cost on that
Yeah,
would be.
I-
So I'll check and see.
I
if
think I'm
maybe
in
they
favor
should
of
have
the no new ones, but I'm a little bit, like if somebody's established with a certain situation,
one. Mhm.
just because they need to upgrade or, replace an existing, if that delta is enormous,
Right.
that's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, I'll see if we can get some numbers on that.
I was kind of wondering that too, or my question was, who determines if it's in good condition then?
Most of these are looked at least once a year by a professional.
And
Uh,
it
if
kinda opens
they
you up
get
to,
the
like,
volume.
say I need to replace it, it's getting there, but I'm not
I'm
gonna,
not going to.
I'm not going to, cause I don't want
Yeah.
that situation either.
And we do have the right to inspect. I mean, that is something that exists in statute and our ordinances, to inspect sewer facilities within the town. You obviously wouldn't want to do that unless you have to. That's not, we don't want to be intrusive, obviously, but.
How do we determine at what point we do that?
Inspect?
Yes.
We would, we're gonna know when these places are having work done. And if we see Dakota Septic out there 4 weeks in a row, for example, we're gonna know there's a problem.
So that's not work that would need to be permitted.
No. Not by us at least, probably by the state.
Is there an opportunity, I know there's not a lot of them, but as we grow and, annex potentially more properties in, and like you said, they're going to have septic tanks of their own, is there an opportunity to create some type of assistance like we do for sidewalks to help them with that cost? I mean, we don't know what the cost is right now, but say it is
Yeah, you could look into, I don't know if it's special assessed. You could look into whether it could be special assessed over the course of time instead. I mean, obviously offer a favorable rate over what other options they would have. Most folks with a septic system are aware of that at some point it's gonna have to get rehabbed or replaced. And if, you know, the city decides, it'd be a city council decision, obviously, whether to offer that kind of assistance or not. You know, we're connecting, when we go along a project and we are, you know, you're tearing out water and sewer, you're taking those service lines out to the property line and replacing them. You know, there's no cost to the property owner for that portion of the project, even though our ordinances state that the property owner is responsible for the connection from the main to the house. That's all their responsibility, even the stuff that's in the street. So you could make an argument that we've assisted to a degree with that expense already.
So do we wanna wait to hear back, or, because that, finding that out we might need to change a little bit of the, some of the definitions here, or like under B,
Mm-hmm.
what that looks like, so are we in favor of just waiting on this, and if so?
Or maybe even just getting how many septic tanks are in our city? Two?
Two.
Okay.
Two that I know of.
Didn't they put one out at the lumberyard? Is that?
Yep.
That's one of them?
That's the newest one.
Okay,
There's one along Boynton.
okay.
And how far would that Boynton, obviously the lumberyard's a ways from our infrastructure, but the Boynton one, what's the closest connecting point? Is it First Avenue?
No, it's on Boynton now. There was no connection there before the Boynton Avenue project.
Oh, sorry, I was thinking Cleveland, Boynton.
Oh, sure.
Gotcha.
One moment here, I can give you a rough idea.
$12,000 for a septic system. To put one in,
Okay.
Just a general,
just a general number, yeah.
153 feet. That's a rough measurement, but. And there's no rush to make this happen. If you prefer that some of this research be done before first reading, there's no reason not to.
I'll make a motion to table ordinance 666, septic systems.
Okay, we have a
It is
motion.
an unfortunate thing. It's an unfortunate number.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
All right,
Is that like skipping the 13th floor in an elevator? Maybe we should renumber it.
right. All right, so that is tabled till our next meeting. 5.3, ordinance 667, city administrator.
Mayor and council, an opinion issued by Attorney General Marty Jackley relative to our current ordinances regarding this position, and requires an amendment to our ordinances. This comes about due to some recent developments in Spearfish, requesting an official opinion from the AG regarding the ability and authority of the city council or the mayor to terminate the position. The AG's opinion clarifies the state law indicates that only the mayor may do so with or without the consent of council. Our ordinance currently reads that such consent of the council is required and thus is in conflict with state statute. So this ordinance changes that to reflect current state statute. If the council wishes for that authority to remain with the city council, they could alternatively recommend a change in form of government, that of city manager or home rule, from the current aldermanic form. I have not put a ton of research into that, so if that's something that's of interest, we can do so. But, it is quite a process. So this ordinance simply amends the current ordinance to clarify the AG's opinion has been reviewed by the city attorney.
All right, discussion.
What's a nearby town that has a different form?
Beersford is the closest. Their home rule, Elk Point is home rule.
What is home rule?
The staff are laughing because we went over this in the staff meeting today, and it's not easy to explain. So basically, you adopt a city charter that kind of governs your affairs. How you staff, how you structure, what decisions are made where, so on and so forth. And I can pull a couple of charters for you if you'd like to see them. You know, you've got, I want to say maybe 15 home rule charters in the state. And they go from large to small, I mean, it's somewhere, you know, Elk Point is smaller than us, Beersford, similar size. You've got Brookings and Vermillion with the city manager form. Yeah, it's kind of all over the board. Aldermanic is the most common, but certainly not limited to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the scary thing when I read this was 2 years ago, we had nobody run for mayor. So if any random person with a beef on you put in a petition at last minute, that you could be gone.
That could happen.
That's, to me, and then that puts our whole town way behind, and like, it impacts the whole town. I think that's scary, personally. I don't know what, in your seat, what your feelings are, but if I was in your seat, I'd be like.
And again, it's not about one, it's about a position.
Right.
Right? It's not about a person, it's about a position. And we noted that at our meeting today, and I think Will and I kind of noted it first, like, we do operate similar to a city manager already. It just isn't in statute, and it's not in our ordinances, it's not a formal change of government that we've gone through. I can do some homework on it.
So instead of city administrator, it'd be city
It's
manager?
city manager. And to most people, that doesn't make a lick of difference.
Yep.
It does if you were in a city administrator or a city manager.
So what's considered a better job? Or what's more of an attractive job to?
Neither.
Neither?
Neither. You know, when you have a city manager form of government, the city manager acts with more authority than a city administrator does. So all hiring and firing is city manager typically. Whereas in my position, I can hire and fire staff but not directors. That's up to council. Entering into certain contracts up to a certain dollar amount, so on and so forth. So like things like if this vac trailer would come in under what we budgeted and the council's already expressed an authority to purchase, you could grant that authority in the charter, for example. There's other minor differences, but that's the basics. And all of this is laid out in state statute as well for what it requires, what's.
Would that change like how the alderman setup is? Or, I mean, that's the research we gotta do. You know?
That'd be some research.
I think I read like if we wanna.
It could be at large.
If we wanna proceed with changing this, it has to go through a city vote.
It would, yeah. Yeah, form of government is subject to a vote of the public. Correct. And I know I don't think anybody on here has mentioned it before, but previous councils have mentioned, you know, a town of 2,500 doesn't make sense to have wards. You know, we're all kind of from the same area. It's not like we're, you know, representing one side of the tracks or another, though it has been joked about from time to time.
I don't know where this falls under, but I think the process makes sense to have a position, like the mayor position, be able to maybe do some sort of like immediate suspension, but then the city council has to vote on the termination.
Yeah, and that's what I reviewed, I think it was Elk Point and Brookings, and both of theirs had that kind of language. Because you need, you know, in that position, you need to be able to make a quick decision in some cases, like I've had to in some cases, right? But the final decision is up to the council.
Yep.
So, but for now, I mean, we can do more research. We know what statute says.
What, has this prompted discussions with other towns and some angst, or is it not? Is it kind of always been known that this is the case? And
For some, yes, for others, no. You know, our ordinance says specifically what the procedure is. It's even in the employment agreement that we have, so that, you know, that may need to be amended as well.
Sure.
For others that have been through this before, but maybe not have it be public, it's happened in some towns before. And it's happened in the way that statute describes. In other towns, it's only happened in the way our ordinance describes. So.
So Nate, can I jump in?
Yep.
Yeah, what prompted the Attorney General to make the decision that the mayor alone was the only one that could do that?
So the Attorney General was asked by the city of Spearfish to issue an official opinion on this. So that opinion is in your packets, AG official opinion number 26-02.
Right?
No, an AG does not have to issue an official opinion, but in this case, there was enough reason that he felt compelled to clarify it. So it's based on, the AG's opinion is going to be based on statute and on relevant case law. So there are a number of cases in the opinion on page 2 that are referenced, Olson v. Butte County,
Yeah,
State versus Beitler, and there are other cases that they'll reference in this. And then they'll look at statute, so SDCL chapter 9 for how it governs this and what it says specifically. But there, in Spearfish, I'm not as familiar with this as maybe others would be, but there was a disagreement between the council and mayor on what should happen in the situation.
oh, okay, okay.
Okay, I think Nate has to do some more homework on this.
I got a long drive to Chicago and back this week to do something.
Yeah. I think it's good to look at it and really bring some clarity to it. See what works.
Just
Makes
understand
sense.
our options and, we don't want Danny to have that much power.
No.
Well,
That's why
and the
they
other way
go
around
this
too,
way.
I mean, if council would want to, and you just overrule us, I feel like there needs to be.
I think that's what's happening in
Clarification.
Spearfish, the council wants to,
Yeah.
felt they weren't fit for the job, and the mayor vetoed it, basically.
Sure.
Yeah, I think having a good comparison of aldermanic versus city manager would help us, because what I was hearing you say is, okay, if we wanna have control over your position, then we might lose control over the director position, so it's kind of a,
Yeah, but I think you could probably set that up in charter too, so.
outlining those differences would be beneficial for our decision-making process. Thank you.
Okay,
I'd recommend a motion to table.
yep.
I'll motion that we table this discussion for ordinance change 667.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to table ordinance 667, city administrator. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries, we'll table that, bring it up again at the next meeting. We have 5.4, police vehicle purchase.
Mayor and council, our favorite police chief wants to buy a new vehicle and associated equipment. So the vehicle cost is $47,696, and this is under the state bid, so it does not need to go through our bid protocols. So when we get this new vehicle, it's outfitted and it's put into patrol. The 2018 Interceptor that is currently being used as the police admin vehicle will be surplused and go to the fire department for their use as a command vehicle at their request. The Tahoe, the 21 will be reassigned to the admin vehicle for PD. The 23 will be night and the 26 will be day shift. We are going back to the Ford Interceptor from the Tahoe. There's still some equipment that needs to be built out from this. The radio, the decals, and we're doing more visible decals, not the ghost decals. I think a few people have expressed an interest in that. Printers and radio. The radio will take some work. We're thinking probably 12,000.
12,000.
Yeah, give or take. So overall, this still comes in under where we budgeted, so we're pretty darn happy. The ambulance came in under budget, this came in under budget. Maybe a little too soon to say that for sure, but.
So you're saying the radio, vehicle, decals, printer is on additional?
That's all separate, yeah.
Addition to the
Yeah,
47?
so there's a ton of equipment that needs to go in. Does the build out include lighting?
Yes.
Yeah, so,
If I can just
go ahead.
clarify that. one of the bid sheets that I have is for the actual upfit. In the upfit, it does list out all the different lights. It's confusing to look at that when you see a 2x4 or 4x6. Those are the exterior lights for the vehicle. So it will be fully, everything is put into that bid. I've worked with the upfitter over the past probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks on, this is what we want, this is what we need, this is just overkill, so let's cut it out. So, yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with the build out so far. As far as the graphics go, I think you'll be happy with the new graphics package that we're gonna have on this. We are gonna be including some of the decals that we had discussed in, I think it was last year. We will have the Oreo decals on the back windows of the car, side visibility.
Good deal.
So, as soon as I get that rendition, I'll get that in front of you guys, so you guys can take a look at it before we cut the decals out and get them put on.
Okay.
Those decals include Will's cell phone number.
Yep.
So folks can reach out at any
Home
time.
address.
No, and to answer your question about the better job, chief of police is the better job.
Thanks, Will. Any other questions or discussion on that?
Since it was mentioned about the 2018 being used for the fire department, are we still going to move forward with the other city vehicle that you previously used?
The old one, yeah, that'll still be surplus and just disposed of.
Okay, so they're no longer taking that one then?
No, that was not the plan. The plan was to use this one as we surplused it out of rotation.
Okay.
Or they're not, then the fire department, they won't need additional decals or lights or anything on that, just as is?
No, and I think they're just gonna use their handheld radios, if I understand right.
Yeah. We're leaving some of our equipment in there that they could repurpose for themselves. Ultimately, that car's gonna be stripped down of all its decals. The light bar is gonna stay on top. They could reprogram it because it's LED. Switch box is gonna stay in there. The tower is gonna stay in there. As far as a radio, if they decide to put a radio into it, it will be ready for a radio.
Oh, okay.
But we will not be providing one for them. We don't have one for them.
Yeah.
so.
What, and maybe Will needs to answer that, what's the change between going with the Chevy Tahoes to the Ford Interceptor end? Or the reason?
I prefer the Tahoes. I think they are adequately comfortable for long shifts. They provide you enough room to where you can move around and be comfortable. The Interceptors, I was not as comfortable in. My guys all really liked the Interceptor. Street hands, they were kind of fighting over who was going to take my car. We've had a lot of problems with the Tahoes. There's a lot of agencies that have had a lot of mechanical issues with the Tahoes. As they've aged, they no longer have the warranty, and that's something that a lot of the agencies are fearing as well. As you know, we had our Tahoe, I want to say 5,000 miles, and we were already replacing a fuel pump in it. So there's certain years of them that were plagued with different mechanical things, and those things can get pretty spendy. Anybody that knows anything about a Chevy 5.3 motor with their dynamic fuel management system, they trash the motor in a blink of an eye. And we've already had one of our motors rebuilt because of that. Luckily, it was under the warranty.
Sure.
Anytime you start getting up there in the higher mileage, you're more prone to see that happen. And I would hate to spend $8,000, $9,000 to replace a motor in one of these vehicles after it's out of the warranty.
Yep.
The 3.3 liter, in talking to the dealer onto it, they're just a running motor. The trans motors are pretty solid in those vehicles. They haven't seen a lot of them come back with many issues. I listen to my people. My people are the ones out there on the street. So I decided to make the change back to the Interceptor, and hopefully they're a lot better.
Is it a smaller vehicle than the Tahoes?
It is.
Yeah, okay.
So it's basically the Ford Explorer.
Okay, sure,
It's just the police package.
Yep.
A lot of heavy duty equipment put into it.
okay. Okay. Any other questions for Will before he sits down?
What is the warranty package on that, like, how many years?
I believe that on this one is gonna be a three-year, 100,000 mile warranty. I'll double check onto it, but there's also an extended package that we can get to make sure that we're gonna run to 100,000 miles with the warranty. That's not included in this. On our 2018, we pull out the additional package for it, and it was a great warranty. We're still not at 100,000 miles on our 2018 yet.
Oh, wow.
You have a lot more runtime on it than miles.
We do, and that's one of the things that we butted up with the warranty with Chevy, is that we were at 12,000 hours of runtime. And that's the equivalent of 300 and some thousand miles of driving.
Sure. Okay. All right,
Thank you.
thanks, Will.
Motion to approve the purchase of the 2026 Ford Interceptor SUV using the state bid for $47,696.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor, signify by saying, I didn't need a roll call for this, Nate?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll do roll call this evening for approval of this. Welch?
Aye.
Dory?
Aye.
Vendrell?
Aye.
Peterson?
Aye.
Teasy?
Aye.
That's weird.
Aye.
Motion carries. We took out 5.5, so we're on 5.6, peddler's permit discussion.
Mayor and council, this is just a discussion asking for some feedback and direction on whether a change is needed or how you'd like us to proceed. So we've required a peddler's permit for some time for a variety of mobile and temporary businesses to operate in Lennox. That the definition is very broad, including food trucks. As demand for these businesses has grown, especially food trucks, we've debated for some time whether the definition of peddler should be as broad as it is. Because from you and me, a peddler is somebody that goes door to door, not necessarily somebody who just has a temporary business in town. The language, to me, indicates that we require a peddler's permit for food trucks and park vendors. Other communities with the same language do not require the permit for those uses. We're left with needing to meet the requirements of our ordinance, but also wasn't wanting to encourage those businesses. So in terms of arguing for not including, there are a few reasons to do so. Confirm with Department of Revenue that a food truck operating in Lennox files sales taxes for the sales in that community. That's the requirement. I assume that that's happened. We don't know. We have no way of knowing. In other words, we're already receiving the sales tax revenue for the sales produced by these businesses, so I don't need to justify a permit fee to offset unrecognized sales taxes. However, the permit is our only opportunity to ensure that food trucks don't set up shop on streets or public property or somewhere in the park without us knowing. We could handle that with parking ordinances elsewhere, but I worry about not having enough heads up. It's going to be hard to fairly enforce that. If PD is pulled off to something more urgent in a parking matter, we really don't have many options to enforce. So in summary, we're trying to provide some leeway here for mobile businesses, lessen the regulatory burden, which has some unintended consequences, so I'd appreciate your discussion on the matter so that we can begin drafting an ordinance that reflects those preferences.
Okay, open it up for discussion.
Is it the cost of the permit that we feel is making it more difficult for people to operate a food truck or a pop-up business here in Lennox?
I think it could be, if other communities are not requiring it. Sioux Falls has a separate process. They have their own health department, so they're inspecting these, permitting them separately from peddlers. Other local communities, they may have the same language we have, but are not enforcing it on food trucks.
So if we continue with a registration process, just so we know who's in town without a permit or permit fee,
Just, hey, let us know when you're in town.
is that realistic?
Or could it be true?
Or is it more the hassle or the
Right.
hoops to jump through in order?
It's really not that much of a hassle. I mean, we ask for, as an application, we ask for references, which doesn't make any sense. We ask for tax ID, which does make sense. Where you're incorporated, all that kind of jazz. You could just make the peddler's fee $0.
Is our
You still have to file, but there's no fee.
Is our peddler's license only good for one use, or do they have to get one every time they come?
Every year.
So it is a once a year
Yeah.
thing, okay.
What is our peddler's fee?
I think $50.
What have we generated in income a year in peddler's fees?
Less than 1,000.
So where I think it could be eliminated is like the vendors in the park. Because I know when I sold Norwex, I was not going to pay $50 peddler
Right.
fee to go to a craft fair or a, vendor fair on the 4th of July. Cause any other event that I've been to like that, you're paying your booth fee already. And then a lot of times whoever's hosting the event will hand out the South Dakota revenue tax form
Yep.
to you at the event, so
Right.
that you can mail it in afterwards. So when it comes to those types of requirements, I think that should be eliminated, truthfully, because I think looking at the summer events that we have in the Park Drive After 5 that's coming up, we might get more people, attract more people if we eliminated the need for a peddler's license to have a booth like that.
Especially for an organized event by, commercial or something
Yes,
like that.
yeah.
There's already some oversight of that process.
Yeah. I kind of am a little leery about the food truck situation, like you said, because of where are they gonna park, that kind of thing, so I don't know if there's a more creative way for us to kind of monitor that stuff. And another one that as I was sitting at a stoplight today in Sioux Falls, I saw a mobile pet mobile, and I thought, would that fall under peddler's license too? And are they coming here today, or are they just coming into town and nobody really knows about it? 'Cause
It's
then,
probably the latter.
yeah. So then it's like, are we really treating all of these mobile businesses fairly? Obviously, a food truck is more visible because they're parking,
Where they can be seen.
Yeah, exactly,
Yep.
but these other ones are probably getting away with not having to pay it
Yeah,
because
you would-
they don't know about it, or we're just,
Mobile grooming, housekeeping services that.
yeah,
Well, that's not necessarily a peddler.
right, that's.
Under our ordinances.
Is a plumber a peddler?
No.
So what about like a guy that comes
It's a
in,
service
A
that's
piano
being
tuner.
provided, right?
You know?
Piano tuner.
like a
Yeah,
glass guy, like a windshield
But,
replacement?
like, I
come
think
to your house and-
about-
Right.
those booksellers that have come, I think almost every year, that, like you said, door to
Door to
door.
door.
But then, are we making our Girl Scouts pay a peddler's fee,
I think nonprofits are specifically
Okay.
exempted. Yeah.
but you think about those things. And then there was like
The
a.
Girl Scout cookies are expensive in the
Yeah.
What about the, FFA fruit, or is that through the school, so that?
Yeah, they'd be exempt under the school
Okay.
as well.
I like the idea of a door-to-door, someone's knocking to generate business. One thing I talked to Nate about earlier too, it gets a little bit, crosses the line a little gray when after a storm, you get, construction workers that come to inspect your roof, essentially trying to get a sale out of it, too, that's a little bit of a gray area.
Or the siding people that come
Yeah,
and
yep.
put flyers on your door and.
But the food trucks.
Lawn care.
Yeah.
The food trucks, I think if it's an event and they're parking on our streets like that event has to talk that through with city before that. If it's in a parking lot at Dollar General, that's their parking lot, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
But the door-to-door stuff is where I'd like to see the peddlers stay in place.
Yeah, I think that's where we worry about some legitimacy, right? Because, if we've got somebody going door to door, and we don't know them from Adam, then I assume we're gonna get calls to the police station, who's then going to have to verify. We have had that, where somebody didn't have it. Usually it's it's just a quick conversation, hey, go get your permit, and you're good to go. Not always, but usually.
Having the City of Lennox app on my phone with notifications on, I was made aware of the college students walking around door to door. So once again, I highly recommend that those who don't have the City of Lennox app with notifications on, download it and turn the notifications on. Then you'll know when there's peddlers going door to door.
And when not to answer your door.
Right.
It's not the Amazon guy.
So this needs to be reworded.
I think so. I'm with you. I think the door-to-door sales,
Yeah.
we keep that in place. I don't know if there's a different way to word the food trucks.
I like the idea of kind of pertaining to the event being free.
exempt and, yeah.
Yes.
Or if you're parked on private property, if that's exempt, you know, because like in Danny's example, like if they were to park in Dollar General's parking lot, because I know that's happened, or if they parked in Todd's parking lot at Sunshine or
Yep.
something, that's theirs to kind of deal with. I mean, I don't view it any different than like the Bloodmobile. You know, Todd gives permission to them to park in the parking lot for that event. It's kind of the same.
Yeah, and it's really, I mean, we're really modernizing our ordinances from when, you know, at one point, there were people that went door to door all the time and did this, and that's morphed. We don't really do it that way now. There's new mobile businesses, that I don't think we originally, you know, when this ordinance was originally drafted, who knows when, nobody thought of food trucks yet. That wasn't a thing here yet. Now it is. And then we've wrestled with this for quite a while. Like we've been talking about it for at least 6 months, I would say, and what the best approach is, and we'll work on it, realize there's a problem, come back to it later, work on it again, realize there's a different problem, so. There's a bunch of cross references we're gonna have to make, probably a bunch of changes to definitions and ordinances that we'll have to make, so. This one will take some time, but I think it's gonna help to have some clarity.
Do we think we could have first and second reading, or draft first and second reading done before our events this summer?
That's
I mean,
the
I
hope.
think, okay.
Yeah, 'cause we talked about that today, whether, you know, if we don't, we're gonna be refunding.
Yeah,
So
and that was,
that's a bit of a pain, so.
Yeah.
I think too, with the event, or if it's an event, or, I don't know how to word this either, just that those food trucks are, in that event's responsible for their sales tax license, and that they actually have one up good and standing. And at some point, if we find out that this food truck doesn't, we can, you know, put some sort of penalty
Right.
on that event.
Don't they have to, doesn't like, if they're running Park Drive after 5, or like, you know, the street dance, don't they have to do,
Your license has to be posted, and you do a permit as well.
right, that's what I was gonna say, can it be like, if it's part of that, then each individual vendor doesn't have to get a peddler's permit, like it's kinda covered under that, or it's,
I'd be fine with that.
um,
I think the intent of the peddler's permit originally was to govern legitimate, like
Right.
door-to-door
I
sales,
agree.
like the vacuum salesman, right? Or encyclopedias.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think-
educational reading.
I think then where you're talking about the pet mobile, they're essentially entering a private property.
Yeah,
That's not bad.
Now, if they start going door to door,
right.
Then
to try
that
to drum up
switches.
their business,
Yeah.
yeah.
so,
If it's okay with everybody here, knowing that we're going through this, if we do start getting any peddler's permits from things that aren't door-to-door, are you okay with us not collecting a fee until we finalize this?
That makes sense.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Do we need to have action with this?
No.
Another table?
No,
it's
not even
just
that, it's just
discussion.
Okay, oh, that's right, yeah.
And a Bloodmobile is not a food truck, I don't know.
Some type of food. All right, we're on to,
Parking on private
February
property.
13th, it might be.
robotic lawnmowers, 5.7.
All right. I am not the expert on this, so Christie is here tonight to talk more about it.
She's
I
the
have
expert.
read it.
That's comical. So at the request of the council, Drew and I have spent some time looking at whether the addition of a robotic mower, picture a Roomba vacuum cleaner out on the lawn, right? So we did some research. I checked in with the South Dakota Parks and Rec Association, some of the staff from other communities. City of Sioux Falls did use for the first time, I think, 2 different robotic mowers. They had a good first year with that at a couple of their locations. Drew talked with Lakota Golf Course. They use one for fairways there. So we did check into those 2 different models, kind of what the costs were and those sorts of things. So in your packet, you'll see kind of the cost side-by-side comparison. So I don't need to go through that. I'll have that in front of you. There's certainly many others out there, but those were the 2 that we had looked at. Essentially, the fleet that we have right now for mowers, we've got the Gravely, which is coming up nearing its end of life at 12 years, just under 1,500 hours. The Hustler, just over 1,200 hours, and the X-Mark 5 years old with 213 hours. We added that in there knowing that that's could be potentially pertinent to the discussion as we're looking at that in terms of what do we need to do to replace that gravely and in what time period, and depending on where the capital equipment fund conversation goes here this year. I know that's a priority area set forth by the board as well. So when Drew and I first discussed this, we were kind of along the lines of thinking that it could be most helpful for some of our larger properties. So we were thinking like Old Football Field, for example. But as we did more research into this, it really looked like the cut of these robotic mowers are very precise, and it's really mainly to help upkeep and with the beautification side of it, and that is a space that is not really all that used, right? So we kind of had to flip our thinking in that in terms of it, maybe going from a staff efficiency standpoint there to where would it be the most useful in terms of where we need that cut frequently. So we were thinking potentially at our ball fields and outfields. Big fields, depending on which model we would go with, you can program a couple different areas, for example, so we could use in a couple of the different outfields as well. The cost comparison to how much, so in the memo that was provided, the Crest model that we looked at, that's what Sioux Falls uses, Sioux Falls Parks and Rec. The total projected cost over the course of the 10-year life of that robotic mower would be about $6,500. I did realize tonight that I forgot to put the blades in there. That's another $500 above that. And then staff time. This was just kind of ballpark. We don't have this down, on paper or anything. But asked Drew just roughly how much does it take to do our ball fields. So during ball season, practice season, game season, so 12 weeks at 5 hours, and then 5 weeks at 2.5 hours. So the total staffing costs at about a $15 an hour rate over the course of that 10 years is about $10,000. So I think it could be an option if council would want us to try that out, kind of on a pilot basis to see if it's useful for us. But also if we do consider down the road what we're gonna be needing to replace that gravely, if we do go with a larger deck mower, for example, we could also hit those ball fields real quick, like too, depending on that. So that's why I wanted to make sure to put that in there in terms of, I don't wanna be spending money that we don't need to if down the road and in a not so distant future that we're gonna do that, and that could potentially be helping to save on the staff time as well if we have a larger deck mower.
72 hours, I wouldn't assume that would really decrease head count that we hire during the
Right.
summer.
Mm-hmm.
So are we really saving anything?
That's kind of the difficulty that we're having looking at that too. And Drew did pull too how many larger properties we have. So we've got 10 properties greater than 2 acres, and 6 properties greater than an acre as well. So when we're looking at, potentially getting a larger deck mower, hopefully in the near future, that could potentially speed up not just the ball fields, but really be an asset to us on some of those other properties too. But
I'm just trying to think of practicality of a motor or an automatic lawnmower like this. So what's the runtime of that? How long does the battery last?
it goes for
Looks like an hour and a half.
hour and a half, and then it has to charge for 30 to 45
So that
minutes.
won't get a baseball field done.
So so what we'd have to figure out a schedule for it so that you're irrigating at one point in time earlier on in the day, and you're doing it more often before the time of day that the ball's.
Would it be based then right by the baseball field?
Yeah, so
Then
it
kinda like
drives
your-
itself up onto the charger.
Kind of like a vacuum at your house. It's that base has got to be right there. So go mow for an hour and some and sit there and.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm. And then if there's any complications, there's an alert that'll go to the phone, from my understanding, and so you kind of have to do a little bit of babysitting. There is more time put into it from the start, just because you have to program it precisely where you want it to go. So there is, when I talked to the folks at Sioux Falls, they did say it was several weeks to kind of get it going where they needed to, depending on the space. They were using it at Tut Hill Park. What's the new area? Down by the steel District.
Jacobson Plaza.
That's the other one that they use to that. So, you know, they're around sidewalks and trees and shrubs and things like that, so it may be that was a little bit more difficult than what, you know, out there would be, but.
What does,
I'm not an expert on this.
No, that's
so.
fine, yeah.
what does the maintenance look like on something like that? Like, I know that they need to be cleaned at a certain point.
Yeah, so Drew had asked quite a few questions to both a sales rep from each of these, and you do have to sharpen the blades every couple weeks on those. There's battery replacements.
But like even cleaning underneath to make sure we're getting that clean cut.
That I don't know. I don't know if that question was.
I would expect that'd be typical of any
Yeah,
lawnmower.
regular
You
lawnmower,
have to hose it off after pretty much each use, especially in spring, when it's gunking up under there. Do we have an idea what a deck mower looks like that, like if we were to move to the large deck mower in a year or two, that would handle all of these responsibilities on the baseball fields? Any idea what that cost is for a big deck mower like that?
I think it's
Is
in
that
here.
included in the memo?
Yeah.
I didn't see that in the memo, where did I
It's
miss
in the
it?
bottom, in the additional comments.
So the quote that we got, which included a discounted rate, 28,000.
And this thing, if we wanna get one that can actually mow, is 15K, 6 acres a day? Yes, okay.
What's so the lifespan for a regular deck mower, is that about 15 years, or is it dependent on hours probably?
It's more than hours. I would probably put us at, and that X mark doesn't have a ton of use on it yet. And that's also the smallest deck that we have. You know, you look at the grade, at 12 years, it got almost 1,500 hours already. If we could get something the last 10, 15, I'd be pretty happy at that rate.
And they're saying this crest has an 8 to 10 year lifespan.
Is there any kind of grants for these type of pilot programs?
Not that I'm aware of, I can certainly ask that.
Is there cost savings in gas?
Minimal.
Is this something you want, Christie? To me,
Drew and I have talked.
like, I don't want,
about
I think
this.
there's a suggestion of like, hey, this is something maybe worth looking into.
Well, and I'm glad because he and I had talked about it this last summer as well, and we just weren't able to get to it. So it was some research that we wanted to do anyhow, and so glad that we did. But it's not screaming out major,
Yeah.
Major cost savings at
That's
this
kind of
time.
what, looking at, my point of view, looking at it like, it's like, maybe there's an ROI, maybe not.
I don't know that the technology's quite to that
Right, and is it,
stage yet.
how much babysitting is it gonna take, are you,
Right, and those are unknowns that
Mhm.
we have a little bit of fear on as well. So, and again, we're not gonna be able to reduce staff, because of that. But
I think the learning curve too of possibly programming those spots, and then you gotta figure out the schedule and use of the space and I mean, I'm sure there's things that you've learned that like, oh, I didn't know it was even being used at this time. So, yeah, I think unless Drew came with and you, Christy, came with like, this makes sense, this would help us, a strong recommendation that we should move forward, then I think we could look at it a little more seriously, but I don't know if it's worth it at this point.
I agree, I mean, yeah,
Be good to see Sioux Falls as a response after year 2 of using them.
and they did purchase 3 more this year. Matt Hart on our park board, he sent me a picture. These are sitting outside my office, and so I do think we'll have an opportunity. And there weren't many others that had gotten back to me, so I think just even over the next couple of years, we'll get more feedback from others that are using it and test running with it. So
And keep them on the radar.
yeah.
yeah.
Did you see an actual demo of it at all, or how?
I did when I was in Spearfish for the
Okay.
it was
Impressive.
Hey, Christie,
yes.
on our current fleet of mowers have bagging systems, it says. I assume we use those with the bags from time to time, if not all the time. These robotic mowers, I would guess, don't have that. So did they have to get sent out a lot more often to keep the required cut? Because if it was too heavy or thick, it would probably not work.
Right, I think the intent of them is that they're kind of continuing on going to keep it nice and kind of a short grade, if you will. We don't do a ton of bagging, more so just in the fall, or if it's especially wet tournaments, if we ever have those. But otherwise, if we just, we weren't able to hit a property and it's getting real long, we need to do some bagging, but otherwise, that's mainly in the fall, so.
It would be interesting to see, did Drew see a demo of this too? Or just you?
I think he saw maybe out at the golf, no, he didn't,
Okay.
no.
But even if you have further conversations with these companies that make them too, I don't know if they ever bring demos here. That would be something worthwhile for you
Yeah.
and Drew to look at, like this spring, summer, to see how it all works. And I think if I was in Drew's shoes too, I would be, how much time am I gonna have to take for, that I didn't even think about, to do this kind of thing?
That was definitely, I think, on his mind when
Yeah.
we were visiting about this too. And I think, yeah, if we were to spend more time looking at that for future, we could ask some of those questions by having somebody come out and say, if we, here's all of our properties, which ones would it make the most sense for, and that sort of thing too, so.
Yeah, because my initial thought was the old football field and properties
Right.
like that too, but if it's too
Ditches.
bumpy or, like, I'd be curious, to Danny's point, if they could even come out and do a demo so you could see the quality of the cut. No, thank you for doing the research. I know that Danny and I brought this to you, and I think you did your due diligence, and let's, like Billy said, keep it on our radar, and it might make sense in the future. Maybe it'll go down in price or something,
Right.
as it becomes more popular, like Lumos. There'll be more on the market or something.
Black
so.
Friday specials.
Yeah.
I'm all about a good deal.
Yeah. Maybe Sioux Falls will sell them next year.
All surplus list.
Thank you.
Okay. On to 5.8, we have data center study proposal.
Mayor and council, you'll recall you authorized the city administrator to secure a proposal for a data center's feasibility study. This is the only proposal that I worked on. The proposal largely speaks for itself, a couple items to highlight. So this is from Lennox residents and experts Scott and Heidi Sandel. The cost, not to exceed $25,000. As you know, that wasn't budgeted for 2026. Not terribly concerned about the added expense. I'd probably keep it in the general fund under economic development. If things continue to go well in the second penny this year, I'd be fine putting it there as well. Second item here, Scott and Heidi have created a data center club at Lennox High School. I think about 20 students or so is what I saw in the picture. For students to learn the overall process of studying this issue and helping craft solutions. As you know, I'll simply issue a recommendation on matters in front of you for consideration. I personally think this is the right work to do in preparation for potential location of data centers or even marketing to data centers for site selection. But it's a politically charged conversation because there's some adequate study and discussion. So I will say I don't think we'll be high on the list of potential sites without significant infrastructure upgrades from our partners or from an incoming data center. We just don't know what those limitations are right now. And we have to do that homework to figure it out. So you have the option of studying the issue up front or leaving it to a potential site selector or future user to study it for us when or if a center decides to locate here. And obviously that study would be viewed pretty skeptically if not completed by independently from that specific industry partner. So given the potential benefits, I personally believe this is worth the investment, but I'd open it up for discussion.
State. Discussion from council.
I mean, I think it's cool how they're getting the school involved. I mean, personally, my son was interested, and he's joined the club, and he came home all excited about talking about the pros and cons of a data center, and that alone I think gives I don't know, it gives students insights to potential career paths, potential things outside of normal basketball and sports and things like that. So I mean that alone I think is interesting and a value to the community. Getting the just understanding the data and just getting the feedback from everything they got laid out here with community input, you know, having our school actually do some of the research and you know, get some involvement with there and get some just education around it, around the industry. You know, I think I'm kind of in agreement with you, like, a large hyperscale data center probably isn't gonna make sense for Lennox, and I don't think that's, but it's understanding the scope of at what level maybe would, what investments would need to happen. That's the data we need to, like, just understand our options, and I think that's what they're proposing is the output of this would give us, and to me, I think that has a lot of value.
You know, one of the harder steps of all of this is if something were to happen, we've got to make something change in our zoning ordinances that would make it clearer, because this isn't a use that is even remotely covered in any zoning ordinance that I'm aware of. You know, some of these data centers are now using on-site power generation with natural gas generators, and you generally wouldn't know. You know, is that something we need to include? You know, from the school perspective, I agree. It's not often you get 20 students excited about, from my perspective, as a zoning issue. From their perspective, it's probably more data driven.
I really view this project like I viewed the housing study. It's just a way for us to understand what we could do, or what the needs are. You know, we want to encourage economic development in this community, and we've kind of struggled to do that. So identifying a new way to bring economic development to the city of Lennox is beneficial for us if this feasibility study comes out that way. And yeah, there might be some changes that we need to make ordinance-wise and zoning-wise, but if that's what makes sense and that's what brings us forward, that's the ultimate goal.
I mean, I think it's a hot topic, obviously. There's a lot of fear mongering going on, and like, obviously a huge 1 million square foot data center has a lot of drawbacks, especially to a town like us. Like, that wouldn't probably fly. But what would, and like, what is the impact? You know, just like everyone else, I don't want my electric to go up. I don't want my water to go up. I don't want to go outside and sit on the porch and hear a humming noise that's ringing in my ears. Like, so those type of things, they're like, at what level is that a problem? Is what level is that a non-issue? I think getting some of this data behind them of, you know, the different sizes, the different, you know, at what level does that happen, and you know, what are the impacts? So, and getting community input, they're talking about getting community input. I think all that's good data to have.
One of the hallmarks of this council is our desire to research, to make educated decisions. Not guess or wish we knew better, but be educated so we can make and choose the right direction. Have open discussions with citizens and have the actual information necessary to have those discussions. It really rounds out how we move forward. I think it's an adequate use of our taxpayers' money to get this information so we can be educated and then educate our taxpayers. It may not be the right choice here. It may be the best choice here. We don't know. And opinions aren't gonna get us anywhere. Data does.
Feel upon
Dog's got something to say there. No, I agree too. Before we just jump into like, yeah, this is what we want to do as a city council, and I think doing our homework, like Lauren brought up a really good point with the housing study. We could just have an idea. We get voices from the community in favor or in disagreement with what we want or decide, to actually have some good information that we can read and learn and just honestly take our time with a little bit too, if that makes sense. So I think this is a good idea to agree with this proposal here and to find out more.
I know we've been working with Scott and Heidi Sandal, and family. Now I know they're very pro for this. Are we going to be seeking like a third party besides them to make sure that we also are aware of all the cons as well, no offense.
No, not.
I mean, feel free to
Yeah.
come up
Yeah.
and,
You can introduce yourself, Heidi. and-
Heidi, Sam. My daughter Courtney, my son Preston. We're doing like, we're not doing this as like, we're pro for this, we're doing it as a pros and cons. So it's not just gonna be, oh, we think this needs to come here, 'cause we don't know, honestly. We wanna know for sure like what the drawbacks would be, because it might not be the right fit for Lennox. So we're gonna make sure we do our due diligence on all of the aspects of it, so.
do we have an idea? I know it says that not to exceed the 25,000. Is there like a more solid concrete number that we're kind of gearing towards? Do we know?
We did one for the city of Yankton 20 years ago, and we charged them 50,000. Like, that was how much it was because of the time that we put into it and stuff. And this, we don't have a concrete number just because we're gonna try to take the kids on. We're actually doing a lot with the students as well as part of this, because we're trying to instill a workforce here out of Lennox, and we're actually gonna be implementing a CTE program for Lennox High School, and working with Superintendent Adam Shaw, and like doing I'm sorry, I'm not good at public. So we're doing like, we're doing this all to drive workforce out of South Dakota, and like working potentially with other cities as well on this, but so we don't exactly know how much it's gonna cost. We put a ton of time into this already, so it's more, we wanna provide, what's the word? Internships, thank you. I keep wanting to call it scholarships, and I can't think of the word internships. We want to provide internships to the students for the work that they're doing on this. They're actually getting school credit for this as well. And so just all of that, and just the time, and we're bringing in speakers to talk to the students as well. And just more providing, not only for the city, but the school and the city combined, the value of all of this research. So it's, I can't put like a price on it for sure.
Are there going to be talks, for example, like what they did for like the DOC, where you hold meetings for the citizens in the area as well as just the city and the school?
What
Like,
do you mean by DOC?
Kind of like
Public input forums.
Like, yeah, public forums,
Yeah,
yes.
and comments from them.
So for example, the Department of Corrections, we held, or I should say, there was a forum that was held over at Prosper, where people could just come in and listen to the information. It was kind of pre-prep slides and everything with any questions that most would have.
Yeah, and that's part of it is, we were actually gonna do a community meeting, March 2nd, but we decided that was too soon. So March 16th is when we're gonna put something in the paper, a notice, put it on the city website, and just hold like a forum for the community to bring their questions, bring their, any feedback they have, concerns, and leave that open to the public. And then we're gonna actually research those concerns and determine if they would be legitimate for here. But we are saying this will not be a hyperscaler, like we already know based on initial preliminary research, a hyperscaler won't be coming here. So it'll be, we don't have the power or the infrastructure here unless we put in millions of dollars to bring a hyperscaler here. So it would be more like your co-location or, enterprise, or, yeah.
What was that?
Modular.
Modular.
Yeah, modular means you can, start with something smaller and then add on to it for data centers. Any other questions?
The deliverables, or like, when's the timeline? Like, how long is this all gonna take?
Yeah, we're hoping to have it done by the end of the school year, for, we have like 5 seniors that are, but we wanted to also continue it, but we hope to have the feasibility study done by, the end of the school year.
Okay. And that'll be some sort of document
Yeah.
then that has all that
Yeah.
put together.
And then, we'll probably have the students maybe come in and present it
Sure.
as a part of their deliverable.
And that would include like multiple sizes, like up to a certain category.
It'll be, what can our infrastructure withstand,
Okay.
pretty much here, so.
No, I think this is good. It's a big undertaking and just time, but investing in the students, I think that's great. It's a different avenue that we haven't heard before for our students.
What intrigued me, I was like, if this is successful, like, what other industries could this potentially be? Like EMT came to mind, like drawing just interest in the community of different occupations, different, avenues to recruit.
Well, and we
I've
know
got a
there's,
couple things I'd love to assign to an intern tonight, so.
and we just know there's a need for data center jobs
Yeah, I mean, this
in
is-
the industry.
This
based on
isn't
that.
gonna go away, this topic isn't gonna go away, I don't think, so like, the more you know, the better off we're gonna be, I think it's a relatively inexpensive study, I mean, we've done lots of other studies, it's taken a lot more money than this, and then the fact that we're kind of giving back to the school as well, and getting the kids involved is intriguing to me, but.
I think it's exciting to just go through the process and learn about it, pros, cons, everything. I don't know
Yeah,
really anything about data centers.
I don't either. I can't say right now if I'm in favor or not in favor. Like, I know I don't want all the negatives that people scream about, but is that realistic in the size we're talking about or not? That's what we want to learn about.
I'll make a motion to move forward with the data center feasibility study at a cost not to exceed $25,000.
Second.
Okay. A motion and a second to approve the data center study proposal to not exceed than $25,000 in cost. Do you need to do a roll call for this too?
That wouldn't hurt.
I can do that, okay. We'll go ahead and do that tonight. Peterson,
Aye.
Peasy,
Aye.
Mandrill,
Aye.
Swear,
Aye.
Welch,
Aye.
Doherty.
Aye.
Okay. And motion does carry. Now for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned. Cut the- or, we're out of-
Good night, everybody.
Good night.